Hey everybody, it's your boy, Harley, with the Thoughtful Talk channel. Hey, if you guys have never tuned in before and you are now, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like on the video. The only way that we could grow the channel is with your help in doing that. Today we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about the healthcare fraud in Minnesota. For those of you that don't know, I am from Minnesota, so this means a lot to me. So the fraud in Minnesota, we're going to be talking about the ICE raids in Minnesota. We're going to be talking about a few other topics, but let's get going. Let's just jump right in.
Tracking your stolen tax dollars. And tonight we reveal how some fraudsters are still benefiting from their crimes even after being charged and convicted.
Investigative reporter Eric Rasmmanson has been following the Feeding Our Future fraud for nearly 4 years, and he's here with what's standing in the way of getting your money back.
Yeah, and some people like to think and believe that this is like a new thing. Believe it or not, I think KARE 11 News, local news network here in Minnesota, actually started really investigating some healthcare fraud stuff when it came to their Recovery Inc. segment, which actually uncovered that treatment centers, inpatient and outpatient treatment centers here in Minnesota were, under the guise of helping people in treatment, specifically IOP, intensive out care without lodging. They were paying program fees to sober living houses and billing their medical insurance for it. So essentially taxpayer money, they found that taxpayer money was being was paying for these people's program fees in sober living so that they could have a place to live. But more so than that, places like New Way, which was a treatment center that now closed their IOP program in lieu of this, but Evergreen Inc. was actually misappropriating all their billing. They were billing like 40 some odd hours in a 24-hour workday. And KARE 11 really started to uncover this. And then I think they were one of the first people to start covering this issue. But yeah, this has been going on for years, and this is the first time now national news is starting to pick up on it. Now you have people like Donald Trump getting involved, federal government's getting involved, stuff like that. And quite honestly, when it comes to Tim Walz and the local administration here in Minnesota,
I think the man's a grossly incompetent man.
I agree 100%.
But we do know a lot of the $250 million stolen from taxpayers is tied up in property and other things. Federal prosecutors say they're seizing it, but at least in some high-profile cases, viewers told us that still has not happened.
At all.
So we went to check it out. All right, here I go. From this 5-bed, 4.5 bath in Washington County to a $1 million house in Plymouth, complete with an indoor basketball court. My name is Eric.
I'd just like to add that, most of us here in Minnesota do not have those things. It's not normal living situations. I mean, there's areas in every state and every place you go where rich people are, have you will, and they have, these things. But, to have an indoor basketball court is almost unheard of. It's not normal where I'm from. I don't know other parts of the country, but if you're coming from a third world country and after years of being in the United States, now all of a sudden you're able to afford these things, that to me is a big red flag.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people.
I mean, we should have got this a long time ago.
Eric Rasmmanson, I'm a reporter with KSTP. Another right off this county road in Burnsville. Do you know if the government is trying to take this house? They're not? We had to see these.
And this is another thing, too, is I believe that the person that they're talking to in that short clip was the now divorced wife of one of the men responsible in the Feeding Our Future scandal, who actually fled the country. And believe it or not, before all this started to really unfold, they got a consensual divorce. So they were actually a mutual motion to divorce. took place. So just to add to that.
These properties for ourselves. Each house owned by people convicted of fraud, connected to Feeding Our Future. $250 million meant to help kids in need, stolen at the height of the pandemic.
We've property all over the state, in different parts of the country.
But long after prosecutors filed paperwork to seize properties purchased with stolen taxpayer dollars, neighbors told 5 Investigates that still has not happened. Is it fair for the public to want answers about what's being done?
Absolutely. It's our money.
Mark Osler is a professor at the St. Thomas Law School and a former federal prosecutor.
This is something in criminal law that too often gets forgotten, the money side of it. You know, we pay attention to the body when someone walks into court, when they're taken away to prison. But the harm is often in the money.
Take former Safari restaurant owner Salim Saeed. 5 guilty verdicts now. A jury convicted him and Feeding Our Future founder Amy Bach nearly 9 months ago. But we found Saeed and his wife are still the official owners of this $1.1 million house in Plymouth.
For now. Now I did see something where they're waiting until after they get sentenced to seize the property. They're not doing it right away. They got to wait until after they're sentenced. Just to kind of put that out there that, you know, it's not that it won't be. It's just, you know, I think there's an issue with the other one, though, where the lady divorced the husband, whatever.
Fraud money funded their $952,000 down payment in 2021. And county records show they've racked up more than $50,000 in delinquent property tax.
Yeah, because why would you pay your property tax if you're a fraudster? I mean, that just doesn't make sense, you know? And not just that, but a lot of these people, you know, the Somali population that's kind of engulfed in this whole issue has been sending a lot of the money abroad. You know what I mean? And there's a lot entangled in that. You know, literally the money's ending up in the hands of terror organizations in Somalia.
Taxes since then. No one responded to the note I left, but a week later we did see someone leaving in a Cadillac. Prosecutors say they have to wait for Salim Saeed to be sentenced before they can take the property.
Yeah, exactly.
But that doesn't explain this one.
Yeah.
Records show the owner of this house in Willarney is Jonathan Ross, the husband of Sharon Ross.
We want to keep that program going.
The former director of House of Refuge Twin Cities was sentenced to prison in February for her role in the Feeding Our Future fraud.
And that's another one. Like, so many people are entangled in this because, you know, there's all these subsidiary, like, nonprofits that were getting this money. And basically these people were going to the state and saying, or going to, you know, the Department of Health saying, hey, look, you know, we want to feed kids. We want to feed kids. And what our plan is, you know, we'll use this money to just feed kids. We just need the money, you know. And they got the money, and then they set up these, like, feeding stations, have you will, at these restaurants. And some of them are saying, like, we served 70,000 kids this month, but then, like, that's more than the population in a state, or in a city, excuse me. And that's more than than the restaurants can even handle, you know? So, and there's a lot going on here with this. We'll just keep digesting.
That should have cleared the way for the government to take the property. But we found a car registered to Ross's husband still sitting in the driveway.
Yeah.
We are also asking about this house in Burnsville, owned by former Feeding Our Future employee Abdi Kerm Idle. Do you know Mr. Idle? Right before being named in the first indictments in 2022, Amy Bach's right-hand man fled the country.
Yep.
Do you know where he is? That's the voice of Idle's ex-wife, according to a second person who spoke to me from behind the front door.
Ex-husband.
Yep. My mother's ex-husband. She divorced him prior
a month
to him
after
leaving.
Investigators say Idle.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, you let this dude get away? And then the wife is still sitting here. I mean, I don't believe, like, I don't know. Just think about that. And stew on that for a minute. Because look.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Oh, wait, yeah, I can't just believe everything I see. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna just buy that for a minute. That they just had a divorce prior to this.
Put down $95,000 on his new house.
Yeah, right.
Records show he and his wife filed for divorce.
Yeah.
A mutual agreement.
A mutual agreement in living in the same house and raise our children together. Why? So she can claim ignorance and say, I didn't know this was going on. And then she gets to do what? Keep the asset.
Living in the same house, they wrote, right before Ilhan disappeared.
Yep.
Instead of having to go through that person and try to extradite him and all of that, we can go directly after the property. I'm sure that's what's being considered. But still frustrating we don't have the body, too. That individual.
Oh, yeah.
Who was so culpable.
I'm going to leave my information here. So what else can be done?
Public attention always helps. So what you're doing is certainly going to help.
Yeah. Yeah, and we haven't had that for years. And you know, quite frankly,
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man.
Tim Walz is to blame. You know, he did do a really good job at keeping this stuff, you know, from happening. And better yet, I think, you know, a lot of these officials were getting paid off. You know, Keith Ellison now busted out with on a recording, basically, in my eyes, colluding with the very people who are scamming the system. And instead of charging them with something, you know, trying to take donation money from them. You know, and then you have Ilhan Omar. You know, where's she at in the and we're gonna touch on that, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But you know, public attention does help. But if you're not getting it, I mean, why do we have to wait so long for national news to start picking this up and, you know, start saying something? I mean, come on.
Osler says taxpayers will have to be patient.
The most likely outcome is that these properties will be seized, they'll be sold, the public will get the money back.
Yeah, sure. We say that. You know what I mean? But who knows, right?
So I'm Gary Tinney here in Chicago. We're covering a really
the audio on this one's a little bad.
Heard about it. This
fraud
schemes in Minnesota to the tune of more than $1 billion.
$1 billion, and actually they're saying that it's almost $2 million.
What exactly did this?
Let's.
All right, let's get to the developing national news tonight that is hitting hard in Minnesota. President Trump has strong words for Somali immigrants in the United States.
I would too.
He says they are too reliant on the U.S. social safety net and wants them to go back to their country. Those are his words.
Yep.
Now, Trump focused on Minnesota at a cabinet meeting in Washington, D.C. today.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%.
Yeah.
They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care.
Well, in him saying this, right, he's going to get a lot of backlash on this, and he probably has. Actually, I know for a fact he has. The left, their tactic is always, oh, he's racist. You know, he's just attacking them because he's racist, and that's kind of how they work. That's kind of how they operate. You know, in essence, we know the truth. You know, there's this saying that I always like to think of when I'm thinking of this kind of stuff, right? And it's kind of not applicable, but we'll flip it so that it is. There's this saying: if you send your kids to Caesar, don't be surprised when they come back as Romans. But when we're in what I mean by that is we're importing people, right, from third world countries, not necessarily constitutional republics, definitely not. You know, I don't really believe in the democracy thing because we weren't founded as a democracy. We were founded as a constitutional republic. But now they're spreading sort of their or influencing their ways of life. You know, and in Somalia there really isn't much for them to contribute to. Real be real. Nobody's taught them. We haven't vetted these people to make sure that what they're going to do is come here, learn our language, and contribute to society. I mean, with an open border policy, right, we're just taking in any old scumbag who wants to come in and giving him a home, throwing him an EBT card, and saying, hey, enjoy your new life. I mean, that's not assimilating. That's not what assimilating into America looks like.
I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too.
Yeah.
Well, Minnesota has the
100%.
largest Somali population in the United States. We are talking about nearly 80,000 people here. And this conversation coming to a head this afternoon. So the mayors of Minneapolis and also St. Paul, the Minneapolis police chief, and a Minneapolis council member all holding a news conference today. They addressed immigration enforcement reports and now panic in the Somali community. Meanwhile, one of our photographers actually caught some men being questioned and also asked for their IDs by what they say was ICE. Fox 9's Rob Olsen has been following this story for us today. So, Rob, you were at that news conference that happened just a few hours ago. This really has the Somali community on edge, not really knowing what's to come, and especially after hearing what the president had to say. Some of that we just listened to.
Yeah, and that's exactly the message that we heard today is, between the reports in various national publications, the New York Times, CNN, others today, that there is a targeted crackdown here, and reports from the community that have seen increased ICE activity in the community over the last couple of days. City Council member Jamal Osman said that his community, he's hearing from a lot of people that they're afraid, and the Minneapolis police chief saying the same thing. They're getting that same feedback. And the mayors, as you mentioned.
What are they afraid of? They're afraid of losing voters. Afraid of losing people that help them in their social justice warrior status. I mean,
both Minneapolis and St. Paul mayors here stressing that of the 80,000 or so Somali Americans in Minnesota, a vast majority are here legally, either going through the legal process of their legal residents or citizens. But again, these reports bubbling up, and now this too, the Minneapolis police chief mentioning too that they're hearing a lot of this from the community.
But because I have been concerned, both over the weekend, we've been getting reports, increased reports of immigration-related activity from members in our community.
Look, this guy stopped being a cop a long time ago. Real be real. He's a politician now. The chief of police in Minneapolis is no longer a police officer. He's a politician. Anytime he says anything, I'm like taking it with a grain of salt. How can you be wearing a police officer uniform and not talk about how they want to defund your police department? That just doesn't make sense to me.
We can't verify that, but we know people in the community are heightened.
Due process will be violated. Mistakes.
Here comes the fear mongering. Listen.
Will be made. And let's be clear, it means that American citizens will be detained for no other reason than the fact that they look like they are Somali.
Look, if you don't want to be detained, don't be driving around in cars that are owned by illegal aliens. I mean, that's simple. Anybody with a little bit of common sense.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people.
Anybody with a little common sense. They're going to try to fear us into believing that American citizens are going to be negatively impacted because they look the part. And quite frankly, if you're always at the sink, washing your hands, then you never have to worry about your hands being dirty.
That is not now and will never be a legitimate reason.
Yeah, and that is the fear, again, is that even though this is targeting people who are here illegally. They're worried that legal citizens, legal residents will be swept up. This is what we saw. Our photographer, Russ Wiesman, caught this at Nicollet Lake in Minneapolis this afternoon. A couple of Somali-American men. One of them told us he's a citizen who's been here for 25 years, being questioned by federal agents. They didn't even know why they were being stopped, but produced their passport, etc., to talk to them before they left after we got there. Here's what they had to say.
They asked me, have you been interviewed or what? I said, no, I haven't been interviewed. They said they're going to take interview and soon as you come, they said it's going to be hot, so they just run off. They took it off. Because of you guys, they just, they didn't want you to involve.
They didn't want you to see what they were doing, so they ran off. I mean, I doubt that. I doubt that. Highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. So round of applause to you guys.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, there are reports over the last couple of days in the community seeing additional activity here. And, you know, this is where the mayors and the council...
Let's talk about the kind of people that they're actually arresting. Let's talk about that, right? Because, like, yeah, okay, so you may look apart. Okay, even if... Let's play devil's advocate, right? Let's say even if they're targeting people just simply because they look Somalian, okay? They didn't get arrested. I'm not saying that that's entirely okay, right? I'm not a fascist, so I don't believe there should be police officers on every single freaking corner saying, here, show me your papers. I'm not on board with that. However, it's not hard to distinguish somebody who hasn't assimilated into American society from somebody who has. It's simple. But the kind of people they're arresting aren't just law-abiding citizens. They're not. I mean, let's look at some of the people. Let's look at some.
From Homeland Security on arrests made by immigration officers in the Twin Cities. They say at least 14 people were arrested by ICE since December 1st. That's what's called Operation Metro Surge. Yep. Some have been convicted of serious crimes, while others are currently facing charges, including domestic violence and driving under the influence. Yep. This operation coming after President Trump's order to also crack down on Somali communities, saying agents would be targeting undocumented immigrants and removing criminals in that community.
And we've learned an Apple Valley mother is in ICE custody this evening after being arrested this morning. Richard Reeves spoke with her husband and her attorney, and he joins us with an update. Rich?
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. The husband tells me his wife was driving to pick up their 11-year-old son at school after the boy complained about not feeling well. The woman says she was driving along Highway 77 when she was blocked in by several unmarked SUVs. One of the people detaining her said he had a warrant and that she was under arrest. Her attorney says he's still working to learn why his client is in ICE custody.
We're trying to, do whatever we can.
We met with the woman's husband, who asked we not show his face, outside the Whipple Federal Building near Fort Snelling, where she's being held in ICE custody. He says he doesn't know why she was detained.
I'm an American citizen. All her children are American citizens.
Okay, so
she was
they're trying to play
over 20 years in this area, especially refugee.
They're trying to play that role like they're detaining people. See, here's the thing, right? If you meet the criteria, I mean, yeah, they're going to detain you. I mean, simple as that. But at the end of the day, right, once they verify who you are, where you're from, because that paperwork can be a lot, it's not as easy as just an officer going back to his vehicle and typing your information into a CAD. It's not that easy. Maybe if we had a streamlined process so we could do that, but we don't. So when the cats are away and the mice come out to play, or if the cats don't care about the mice in the moment, what do you think? You think they're going to come back eventually? Or if new cats come, they're just going to let the mice continue to run around? No. Absolutely not.
Resettlement. She never had any crime.
Stephen Thal, the woman's attorney, says many years ago an immigration judge granted her withholding of removal, which means she can't be deported back to her native Somalia.
She's able to live and work here in the United States. She's paid her taxes. She's filed
but she's not a citizen, just to be real.
She's stayed out of trouble.
KSTP checked and was unable to find any criminal prosecution or conviction for the woman. Her husband says he's not sure what's next.
Something like that, and which is not fair. You know, that's...
Listen. I don't think... See how they spun that? They just spun it like it was... like they're detaining somebody. She's not a citizen. So why are you trying to spin it like that? But that's ABC for you.
Welcome to the News at 6 on Fox 9 and Fox Local. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. We start tonight with the ongoing tension surrounding the reports of immigration enforcement in the Twin Cities.
Okay.
We are following a number of developments that are new today. Maury Glover has reaction from those in the Somali community. And Rob Olson has more on protests concerning deportation flights leaving the airport.
First, though, Karen Scullen, who has been standing by in Minneapolis's Cedar Riverside neighborhood. And today, Karen, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey banning immigration enforcement on city-owned property. Tell us more about what he's done there, and I'm wondering, is it even enforceable when you're dealing with the feds like this?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start with what this is really all about. The mayor signed an executive order today, yes, banning any kind of immigration enforcement on city-owned property like vacant lots, parking lots, parking garages, the farmers.
Because who went to school, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Let's give a round of applause to the Department of Education. Let's just... Okay.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people.
I really don't understand. Checks and balances is something that was taught in school. When I went to school, I don't know, maybe they stopped teaching it or just started teaching. I don't know. But the city of Minneapolis or the state of Minnesota or the city of St. Paul can't just stop the federal government from doing their job. I mean, that's pretty simple.
Market lot, pretty much anywhere, anything that can be used for some sort of staging or processing when it comes to immigration. Now, what this means is that the city will first identify any properties that are city owned, and they'll start making some signage, and they'll basically, the signage will say that no local, state, or federal government for any kind of immigration enforcement can use this property, whether it be for staging or processing. They will also be providing signage for any private property owners.
Well, here's the thing, right? Now, there's laws in place already that tell them where they can and cannot go. So if, say for an example, an ICE agent walks into a private business, right? They can perform their duties without a warrant in all publicly accessible areas. So any area, say they're going into a restaurant, any area that the public has open access to, right? Meaning they don't need permission to proceed through whatever door or whatever. They're able to snatch anybody up out of there. Now, if they're in the back, right, working in a private, non-public area, an area that's not accessible to the public, then they can't just go in there. Even if they see the person they're looking for in there, they can't. The only thing that changes that is if under the hot pursuit clause, right? If they're already chasing them and they run in there. That's pretty much it.
Who would like signs for their own lots? Now, I spoke with the mayor's office a short while ago. These signs are not up just yet. However, the surface lots will start seeing these signs going up tomorrow. Now, Randy, you asked about enforcement. So what it looks like right now is if there are any violations of this order, it sounds like the city will go the routes of the courts. They will go to the court, file for an injunction for trespassing to try to get the situation to stop. I asked about Minneapolis police, if they could be somehow involved in any kind of enforcement. Sounds like, according to the mayor's office, they could be cited for trespassing. by Minneapolis police, but maybe that wouldn't happen. That doesn't sound like it would be the route that they would take. It sounds like the courts would be the way they would go if somebody decides to violate these signs and this new order that the mayor has just.
Yeah, because again, what they're going to do is they're going to bring it to court. And again, they're going to do what they do best. And they're going to waste taxpayer dollars fighting a case they'll probably lose. Uh-oh.
The Trump administration opening a new channel in its immigration crackdown as ICE agents descend on Minneapolis to root out illegal Somali immigrants.
And for the record, it's pronounced Minneapolis, not Minneapolis, just so you know.
Operation targeting as many as 500 Somalis in the city. In New Orleans, meanwhile, a city council meeting descended into chaos yesterday when an anti-ICE protester and protesters stormed council chambers, shouting down officials, clashing with police over the launch of Operation Catahoula Crunch. Joining me now is the Department of Homeland Security Public Affairs.
Catahoula Crunch. Is that what it's called? Catahoula Crunch.
Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. Tricia, good to have you. Thanks very much for being here. What can you tell us about these new plans in Minneapolis and elsewhere?
Well, absolutely, Marianne. Thank you for having me. Out of Minneapolis, ICE is already on the ground there.
Yep.
USCIS has been doing investigations there for months about immigration fraud. What we're seeing on the ground as far as these immigration cases is that nearly half of them have resulted in fraud or some other defrauding of the system, which is a huge problem. Charges are coming, but on the ground.
And that's the thing is they don't want to talk about that. Why would they want to talk about that? You know, the left loves their victim status, and they love it that they can get catered to because they're victims. They need help, and that's the whole point and the premise. And if you speak out against them, then they call you a racist and, you know, all that other stuff.
ICE has already made dozens and dozens of arrests, including a convicted murderer, convicted gang members who have just been released back onto Minneapolis' streets to terrorize their people. And it's such a shame that Tim Walz and the mayor there turn a blind eye and are really complicit in what's happening to Minneapolis. So Secretary Noem is laser focused on this issue, and we're going to bring real results, not just for President Trump, but for the American people.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so is this connected to what we saw in terms of the fraud over the COVID payments?
Yes. Abso-freaking-lutely. That'd be my answer. That'd be my answer. Absolutely it is. See, the thing is we would have let the state handle it. But we got tipped off. Money's been ending up in the hands of terrorists. Yep. These people don't want to assimilate. It's unfortunate. But my answer would be yes. We'll see what their answer is.
There is a connection there. It's been really a whole of government approach. President Trump has done such a phenomenal job of removing these silos between our intelligence agencies, between the FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security investigations. We've been all over this. I mean, we've also seen, you know, a nexus of terrorism there as far as this Somali population and others in these communities giving money to terrorist cells outside of our country. That's something we're certainly tracking down.
And it has been confirmed that that is happening.
Meanwhile, ICE announced the arrests of multiple Afghan nationals. They were released into the country by the Biden administration during Operations Allies Refuge and Allies Welcome, following the disastrous pullout of Kabul in 2021. Convictions there include crimes of kidnapping and child molestation. More than 5,000 Afghan nationals brought into the country in 2021 were reportedly flagged for national security reasons. How is that possible, Tricia?
Yeah, and that's just another piece. That's just another piece. You know, we're letting these people in. They're flagged. and they're still getting in. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, and it's such an extreme, thing to just allow everybody in and anybody and everybody to come here, right? So it's going to take extreme measures to get them all out.
These people were flagged for national security issues, and yet they're still in the country?
They were. And we've had a huge uphill battle on this issue because there was absolutely no vetting by the Biden administration when they were letting 100,000, possibly even 200,000 of these Afghan nationals into our country, primarily military-age fighting men. We're talking about no biometric data, no criminal background checks, no cyber, no financial crime background checks. Really, they were taking statements of fact, vouchers from other people who said, yes, these are good people, they should come into the country. When we're just seeing 3 individuals in the last week alone who came under this Biden parole program, and they turn out to have terrorist interests or commit terrorist acts, as we just saw. Just 2 days ago, out of Virginia, we have an individual who is a member of ISIS-K. His father was also a leader of a militant group in Afghanistan. He should have never been allowed into this country, and yet he has been here for 5 years, and he could have committed just an act of terror. And Maria, we all know it just takes one.
Yeah, and that's just it is, if we don't do something about it now, right? I mean, just think about, it's insurgency. They're coming in here and they're, spreading their values, their beliefs, and a lot of these people are getting the ability to vote somehow. It's just interesting. Voter fraud. And I think that's the whole reason why they were let in to begin with. Oh. Let's talk about this first.
A common language, a common border, but somehow worlds apart. A Somaliland activist offers some perspective on Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, Somali fraud in Minnesota, and more. Next.
Yeah, because where's
amid growing tension,
Omar.
Significant backlash, and violent threats, my next guest here is wishing to remain anonymous. We're going to call her Sonia for this interview to help protect her identity. Sonia, thank you so much for being brave and speaking out.
Thank you, Liz Collins. Thank you, Alpha News, for inviting me. I truly appreciate you, and I'm honored to be here with you.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. I know there's a lot to talk about here, but before we get into the details, I do think it's important for people to understand the cultural similarities and differences between what is the Republic of Somaliland and Somalia.
So that's not the reason why I'm playing this. I could give less about the differences. I really do. And I feel like they're trying to separate the two, like there's some good and some good, or some good and some bad. I don't care, honestly. Anybody who's here illegally is a criminal because they came here illegally. But one thing that they're going to talk about is Ilhan Omar, and that's what I want to touch on.
And how these are playing out in Minnesota right now. So, Sonia, what can you tell us about that?
So the Republic of Somaliland is a country in East Africa, in the Horn of Africa, by the Gulf of Eden, a very strategic location for most of the world, to be honest, and also very critical for U.S. national security and trade. And to the east of Somaliland, we are bordered by Somalia. So Somaliland is a country. We have a distinct culture. One of the big differences between Somaliland and Somalia is the adherence to the rule of law. The people of Somaliland truly believe in the rule of law.
And I think what they're doing is prerequisiting what they're about to say about the Somalians, because they value adherence to the law, the rule of law, right? Which means they aspire to be law-abiding citizens. And I think there's a trade-off that they're going to get.
This is something that we have always adhered to, is in our customary laws. The main goal of Somalia is to erase Somaliland from the map because they want our strategic location.
So, Sonia, over the past few years, as the never-ending trials, it seems, in the Feeding Our Future scandal have been playing out, we've been hearing more and more about what has now become known as Somali fraud in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Where do people from Somaliland fit into all of this? Or I guess, do they, is the question.
You can look at the Feeding Our Future scam. I think out of the 78...
Yeah, so 78 people have now been indicted total. And I think there's one white female out of all of them, I think. And then one other that's not Somalian. I could be totally wrong on that.
I think 76 are from Somalia.
Okay, yeah.
And I think 2 are Americans.
Yep, there we go.
That also shows you that there is a distinctiveness here. And there is a common trust amongst the people of Somaliland. You can see that because Somalilanders believe in the rule of law, they thrive in countries like the United States of America. We have people in from Somaliland who are in America, who have very good, high-paying jobs, very decent jobs, and I think it's because of this adherence to the rule of law and different cultures.
In a way, Sonia, it seems that you weren't even surprised about this fraud in Minnesota.
Absolutely not. We saw it coming because we used to wonder, why are people not talking about this? We were always seeing stories, Somali gangs, Somali murders, Somali theft. We asked ourselves, how is it possible? A small group of people, Somalians are not many in the United States, but they were able to get away with so much. I think the people of Somalia are a direct reflection of the Somalian government and its ability to manipulate, its ability to deceive, its ability to act vulnerable, to always blame, scapegoat, and gaslight. Yeah. For example, if I spoke out about Somalia, this is the names they call me. They call me a Christian lover, Galra.
Yeah.
They say that you are secessionist. They say you are separatist. So only the strong can truly withstand the onslaught. The attack is so massive and vast. A Caucasian person in America, if that person is told that, oh, you are anti-Muslim, you are anti-black,
Islamophobe.
So people are silenced.
Along with all the fraud, Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been facing increasing scrutiny these past few weeks, with comments recently from President Trump calling for her to be investigated, even demands for her deportation. But as someone who's been an activist for Somaliland, not Somalia, what is your perspective on her personally and politically as well, Sonia?
So these people from Somaliland are highly persecuted. So many of them tend not to speak up. Ilhan Omar is someone that I know isn't telling the American people the truth.
Why would she? Why would she? The thing about it is narrative, right? Pushing the narrative. That's all that matters. Period.
She is in the Democratic Party. She talks about democracy. She talks about human rights. But Ilhan Omar disregards 6 to 8 million people that are Muslims, by the way, that are black, by the way, that are found in Somaliland. She called us Somali Iskusheg, meaning those who call themselves Somali. Ilhan Omar has lied to the American people. I don't truly know how to give back to America, but I know that I'm an American patriot, that when we had nothing, this country gave me everything. She scapegoats the people who call out her ineffectiveness, because I haven't seen Ilhan Omar demanding accountability in Minnesota.
Why would she? Again, I ask again, why would she? The narrative is, let's not assimilate to America. It's insurgency, really. They're coming in and they're taking over, and they're going to institute their own values, their way of life onto others, unfortunately. Call me a racist, do whatever you want. I love all people. I believe in Jesus Christ, my personal Lord and Savior, and everybody should have him. Because that's his will, that's what he wants. But despite that, they don't want you to live a prosperous life, right? They're taking advantage of the system. And mostly it's her people, right, that are doing it. And she has absolutely nothing to say about it. Nothing to say for it. No accountability for it. In the words of Donald Trump, we should send her back too.
She's pointing fingers, calling everybody a racist, an Islamophobe. So to me, Ilhan Omar is a fraud. And I'm hoping that justice knocks on her door very soon.
Yeah.
Sonia, thank you again for speaking out and helping us better understand the situation here in Minnesota.
Thank you so much, Liz. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate Alpha.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. You know, like, we have to do better at holding our government accountable. And being accountable ourselves, you know, at speaking out and making sure that these issues are coming to light sooner. The problem is that this has been years. It's been years. This has been going on for a long time in Minnesota. And now it looks like the federal government's getting involved, right? The oversight committee's getting involved. They're going to start looking into this stuff, and they're going to see how far back it really goes. And then we're going to get national attention again. And then finally people are going to care about it. Whilst ICE is going and deporting all these people. And the left is just going to show up and protest. Because undocumented citizens who are criminals deserve constitutional rights. Whether you believe that or not, that's what they believe. So, either way, we're out of time for today. Try to keep it at about 45 minutes or less. So, if you haven't, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We'll have more in the near future, I'm sure. And this has been The Thoughtful Talk with Harley.